sports and our OOTP 22 game with the Miami Marlins. We are in the 2026-2027 offseason, had a better year last year than the year before, but still a losing record overall. Our goals for 2027 are to achieve a winning record, upgrade at first base, and improve our team batting average. And our owner also actually wants us to have a final total balance of $16 million. I think that's going to be pretty difficult given the fact that we're going to be spending some of his money in the coming weeks. It looks pretty good right now from that perspective, simply because we have declined a couple of the most expensive options we had as a team. Actually, the two most expensive options that we had as a team. As you know, Trevor Rogers has been the pitcher that we have built around for a long time. We had he made $14 million this last season in 2026, and we just declined his bonus for 2027. He was going to be making $16 million, and given the kind of steady downslide in his production, ERA is well over 5, ERA pluses 80 or lower, and FIP minuses in the 103 to 118 range the last two seasons. It was hard for us to justify paying him $16 million, even though he's still a relatively young pitcher with a decent arsenal, four decent pitches. Assuming he is amenable, we may try to bring him back at a lower amount, but $16 million was too much for us. And then we also declined the final year option that we had on Dominic Smith. He was a free agent signing a couple of years ago for us, and through his first two seasons with us has definitely been disappointing, with a 2.3 WAR in 2025 and then a minus 1.3 WAR last season. We had an option for him at the same $11.5 million for this upcoming season, but also are going to let that go. So that puts us into a position where we have some money to spend right now. The question is how much more we will kind of unwrap in the coming weeks as we head closer to arbitration. Jesus Sanchez, who did have a decent bounce-back season last year, is looking for a pretty significant amount in arbitration this year, but is also amenable to signing a longer-term contract. Similar situation with Eduard Bizardo, who has been really good for us since we traded for him from Boston 2 seasons ago. But he's looking for a big raise this coming season, and is also amenable to a longer contract with us right now. The issue with Bizardo is that he's already 31 years old, and he wants to be paid as a starter. He has been starting for us quite a bit the last 2 seasons, including entirely back in 2026. But with his 40 stamina and the fact he's only got 3 pitches, he'd be a much better reliever than starter, all else equal. It's just on our team. He has a skill set that not too many other pitchers do, so Mattingly has been using him in the rotation. Also, a little concerned about, poor work ethic, not a lot of adaptability. Is that someone we want to build around for the next 5 or 6 seasons? So big decisions to make with those two in this offseason. And then Matt Theis, who has really been a utility player for us. Useful at times, but, a corner infielder without great defense. And, you can see the most at-bats he's had in a season is 360. The least is 159, normally in that 200 at-bat range. So kind of a pinch hitter utility bat with a negative WAR last season, in the worst performance he's had since he's come up. His contract isn't crippling at $3 million this past year, and then $3.5 and $4 in the 2 seasons going forward. But still, for a small market team like us, a lot of money to be paying for somebody that's not a starter. So we have some additional decisions to make, and then we will start working through free agency. I think the thought this year is to rely on our young players as much as possible and fill in the gaps. I don't see us, adding a 8, 10, $12 million single player. I think it's more to add 2, 3, maybe 4 more economical contracts that kind of can supplement in and fill some holes for us. And we are going to have a lot of holes to fill with the fact that we are moving on from Dominic Smith. And then also when you look at our team, we're going to be moving on from a couple of other key players. Notably, Carlos Correa, who played third for us last year, is going to looking for a huge contract, and so we're going to have a third base position to fill, and then similar to that, second baseman who we had traded for a couple of years ago. If I could bring up my batters, that would help. Christian Arroyo is also looking for a bigger contract than we're going to be able to pay. So left field and first base will be looking for additions. Third base with Correa and second base with Arroyo will be looking for additions. Some of those certainly could come internally with Brigman, Stovall, Theis, but we'll be looking for help potentially from free agents, trades, and or bringing up some other people from the minor league system to fill some of those gaps. So we will be back reporting on how free agency, trades, and the offseason went, but that is the high-level game plan as we head in. We'll see how well we stick to it. Well, we're back at the end of March, and it was an extremely busy and I think productive off-season, although the last move that we made seems like it may be one that we regret a little bit, but fortunately it's just for a one-year deal. Taking a look back at the transactions that kind of got us through the off-season, didn't really do anything exceptional in November. Made a couple of minor trades, traded away players that we just weren't going to keep. Center field Mauricio DeBron, traded away a minor league catcher. And then the one kind of interesting trade that we did was we did get Alex Baum, first baseman from Tampa Bay in one of those trades, who is on the major league roster and potentially will be seeing some action for us. But it got more interesting when we moved into December. We re-signed Trevor Rogers, who had been the future of the franchise, for a much lower amount after we declined his $16 million option, 3-year at an average of $1.6 million a year. And then we re-signed another back end of the rotation starter for us in Dean Kramer, again for a very modest contract, 3 years at $1.2 million a year. So that was good. We picked up a couple of players in the Rule 5 draft. Brett Percival, who we sent back to Houston as we were making our final cuts. But then an interesting catcher, Jesus Galiz. A lot of potential. Pretty good bat for a catcher, although not a lot of power. And a decent defensive profile. You can see, 2.5 stars, but potential to get to 4.5 stars if he keeps developing. He's never been above AA ball, where he did hit 300 last year. He's ranked as the 98th prospect in baseball. A little surprised that he was available in the Rule 5 draft. We'll see, and he's only 23 years old. We'll see whether we can keep him on the roster all year. But he could be interesting. And then in terms of the blast from the past that we did, bringing back Trevor Rogers and Dean Kramer, we signed Louin Diaz, who had been with us for several seasons, to a very modest contract. You can see here, averaging about $1.5 million a year for the next 4 years with a team option for us. So another decent bat who can play first base, and he was going to be potentially platooning with Alex Baum until we made some other transactions, which we'll talk about now. January, the big move was second baseman Mike Brassau from Arizona signed him as a free agent. Remember, we have a big hole in the second base at this point that we were trying to fill. $4 million for each of the next 2 years. He's kind of a league average batter, maybe slightly above average as a fielder, and he may end up playing more third than second. Was kind of supposed to be a cheap starter, but he may end up being more of a utility man, but not a huge commitment there. Other than that, kind of made the other moves as we got closer into spring training. The last one that was a big one was Matthew Boyd, who we signed to a one-year contract at $9.3 million, which we thought was a decent option to fill out our starting rotation, give us a left-handed pitcher. When he actually started pitching for us, his movement is not nearly what it used to be and what we thought it was. That said, he still has 4 average or better pitches, so hopefully he can contribute to us. You know, you look at his history, and he has pretty consistently been about a league average starter for the past few years, but we had money to spend, and it's only a 1-year commitment, so rather than not spend the money, we wanted to bring on somebody and take a chance on him. So looking at the 26-man roster as we head into the beginning of the season, still have Hedges, great defensive catcher with Galiz now. We'll see who Mattingly wants in the lineup. As I mentioned, Baum and Louin Diaz to potentially platoon at first base. In addition to signing Brassau and bringing back Matt Theis, definitely had the youth movement in our roster this year with young shortstop Jet Williams, who's the 89th best prospect in the game, former number 1 pick of us just a couple seasons ago, is going to be on the major league roster. Looks like he could develop into a decent bat, decent fielder, shortstop, second base. Zingy Sabatino, who was up a bit at the end of last year, is similar also, number 70th prospect in baseball. Someone who's been in our minor league system a little bit longer, but still looks like he can make good contact, good eye, and again, a versatile infielder who can play a variety of positions. And then Peyton Stovall is staying up with the big team, our number 1 draft pick from first year, a supplemental number 1 from the first year we were running the team, has been up a little bit in 2025 and then was in kind of a utility role last year. Very good contact player, hopefully average contact hitter, a little bit of gap power, and then hopefully can get to average in the rest of the categories, but pretty versatile, also can play first, second, or third. So we've got a lot of options to kind of fill in the infield with the 5 guys we have to play second and third among us, in second, third, and short. We did at the end of spring training cut our longtime shortstop Freddie Galvis. He was still a bit better defensively than either Jet Williams or Zingy Sabatino at shortstop, but they just offer a lot more offense than him, and it was time to try to move on. And then the infield, or the outfield, Sanchez is back in right field. Mo Hampton Jr. is going to be our center fielder. And then some combination of Griffin Conine and Michael Lorenzen. Lorenzen coming back from a complete loss of last season with his injury, and Conine also missed most of the season. So they will man left field. May need to eventually bring up another outfielder if we have some injuries, given that we're a little infield heavy right now. That would probably be the next logical step. If somebody gets hurt there, we can probably still piece things together in the infield. But that's what the lineup looks like. Moving to our pitchers. Bizardo is back at the top of the rotation, along with Murakami, who's back after a good first season in the American majors. Boyd, I mentioned that we signed. Matt Olson really more of a closer prospect, but we've got him in the rotation right now. Mattingly wants to see what he can do there. And then Greg Wallace, another former first-round pick, has been moving steadily up through our minor league systems. Had a good solid year in Jacksonville last season, so we are going to give him a shot. Number 73 ranked prospect in the game. And then the bullpen, a lot of familiar names with Michel Baez, Anudi Correa, Jordi Guaba is back. Mentioned that Dean Kramer and Trevor Rogers were re-signed. Taylor Rogers is back. William Sowers is back. He's traditionally been in the rotation the last few years. Looks like he may be more of a reliever this year. And then Dante Cuba, who came up to the bigs for the first time last year and did a really great job in 34 games, is back as our closer. So much more youth on the team than we've had in recent years. Hopefully that will pay off when we look at our goals for the season. Still have a little bit of money available, which is good. You look at where we stand with Bruce Sherman at this point. Need to have a winning record, which we were close to last year. Upgrade first base. I think we've done that, bringing on the two guys that I mentioned earlier, but we'll see whether he agrees with that. Improve in batting average, and then we also need to increase profit, which we would have probably had a chance at this if we hadn't made that last free agent signing of Boyd. We may come back to regret that in terms of generating enough money. But feeling better going into this season than I have in recent years, simply because at least we're starting to give the young players that we've invested in over the past 6 seasons, building up the farm system, a chance to really prove themselves. So we'll report back with how the season goes. Thank you so much for watching, and hope you're enjoying it as much as I'm enjoying making it. Have a great day.